You catch a wave at the beach, dip your feet in, and maybe glance out at the horizon for a second before wading in further. Nothing about the ocean today particularly worries you. But if you'd waded into that same water at almost any other point in Earth's 500 million year history of animal life, something already extinct would have been sizing you up. And the terrifying part isn't any single creature. It's that every time one apex killer died out, something even stranger evolved to take its place. Start over 470 million years ago, in the Ordovician period, long before anything with a spine crawled onto land. The ocean's top predator wasn't a fish. It was a squid relative called Camaracoris, a straight-shelled nautiloid that could grow past 6 meters long, essentially a torpedo with a mouth full of grasping tentacles. There were no jawed fish yet to challenge it. For tens of millions of years, this armored mollusk simply owned the sea. Then came the Silurian period, and the ocean's most feared hunter wasn't a giant squid cousin anymore. It was an arthropod. Eurypterids, commonly called sea scorpions, evolved into forms like Pterygotus, over 2 meters long, with paddle-like limbs and claws built for shredding. Paleontologist James Lamsdell, who has spent years reconstructing Eurypterid anatomy, has shown that some species had compound eyes angled specifically for ambush hunting, tracking prey from the shadows before striking. For a stretch of geologic time, the deadliest thing in the water wasn't a fish or a mammal ancestor at all. It was something built more like a scorpion than anything you'd recognize as an ocean predator today. The Devonian period changed the rules entirely. This is when fish, real armored fish, finally took the crown, and one animal in particular made sure of it. Dunkleosteus? A placoderm the size of a school bus, with no teeth at all, just self-sharpening bone plates that functioned like a bolt cutter. Researchers who've modeled its bite force estimate it could exert pressure rivaling that of a modern crocodile, enough to slice clean through the armor of other heavily plated fish, the exact animals that had been considered untouchable just a few million years earlier. Dunkleosteus didn't just hunt. It made the previous generation of ocean tanks obsolete overnight. Skip ahead to the Permian period, and the deadliest predator gets stranger still. Helicoprion, a shark relative with a spiral whorl of teeth curling out of its lower jaw like a circular saw blade. For over a century, paleontologists genuinely didn't know where that whorl even belonged on the animal's body. It wasn't until 2013 that paleontologist Leif Tapanila used CT scans of a fossil to finally place it correctly, tucked into the back of the lower jaw, functioning like a conveyor belt that sliced through soft-bodied prey as the jaw closed. An animal every previous generation of scientists had been quite literally putting back together wrong. Then the Triassic arrives, and the ocean's apex predator becomes something you'd almost mistake for a whale. Giant ichthyosaurs like Shonosaurus and Shastasaurus, marine reptiles that convergently evolved a body plan eerily similar to modern whales, some reaching lengths over 20 meters. Paleontologist Martin Sander, who has studied ichthyosaur growth patterns extensively, has pointed out that these animals reached whale-like sizes tens of millions of years before anything resembling a whale existed. Evolution had already solved the giant ocean predator problem once, and then largely started over from scratch. By the Jurassic, a different kind of marine reptile took over, the pliosaurs. Short-necked, massive-skulled cousins of the more familiar, long-necked plesiosaurs, built purely around bite force. Fossils nicknamed Predator X suggested skulls longer than a small car, with an estimated bite force that dwarfed even Dunkleosteus. These weren't ambush hunters waiting patiently. Their proportions suggest raw, overwhelming force was the entire strategy. The Cretaceous handed the title to mosasaurs, enormous marine lizards more closely related to modern monitor lizards and snakes than to dinosaurs. Paleontologist Takuya Konishi's research on mosasaur jaw mechanics reveals a double-hinged jaw capable of swallowing prey nearly as large as the mosasaur itself, a trick borrowed from snakes, scaled up to a body the length of a city bus. Then, in the more recent Cenozoic era, the ocean's most infamous predator finally arrives, megalodon. Paleontologist Kenshu Shimada's research on megalodon tooth size and jaw reconstruction suggests bite forces among the strongest of any animal that has ever lived on Earth, capable of crushing whalebone outright rather than simply slicing flesh. And today, the deadliest hunter in the ocean isn't the biggest, or the one with the most teeth, it's the orca, a mammal that hunts in coordinated family groups, teaches hunting techniques across generations, and has been documented deliberately targeting great white sharks for their livers alone. Every predator before it relied on raw anatomy. The orca relies on something none of its extinct predecessors ever had: culture, passed down and refined generation after generation. So the next time you glance out at the horizon before wading into the water, remember that the ocean has never actually been safe. It's simply been handing the crown to something new every few tens of millions of years, and the current holder isn't the one with the biggest teeth. It's the one smart enough to never need them alone. The more we learn about the past, the better we understand ourselves. If this video sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Phoenix Primeval for more fascinating stories from history, science, and human evolution. Thanks for watching.